flashing, and you're on.
Hi everyone, we're Group 2. We're going to be presenting job analysis. My name is Frank, and I'll be talking about what a job analysis is, the steps to perform a job analysis, and how you use it with training. Andrew's going to be talking more about a job description, job specification. John is going to be talking about the different methods used to collect data for a job analysis, and Ryan's going to talk about how to use job analysis with selection decisions. So what is a job analysis? It is an analysis of the job duties and KSAPCs, or knowledge, skills, abilities, and personal characteristics. These all, the KSAPCs pretty much form a person. It's everything you need to do a job you should have in the KSAPCs. The purpose of a job analysis is to establish and document the job relatedness of employment procedures, and more importantly, to help establish the training, selection, compensation, and performance review standards that a company will use for every single job. So there are 8 steps in a job analysis. The first step, you have to prepare to collect the information. You're going to need to decide how you're going to use this information, and you're going to need to determine what data is necessary to collect and how you're going to collect it, the different methods you're going to use. You also need to determine if you're going to use qualitative or quantitative information. You need a mix of both to make a full job analysis. The next step is to review the background information you already have, such as organization and process charts and previous job descriptions. And you can use this background information as a starting point to build your revised job descriptions. The third step in job analysis is to, depending on the size of the company, select your representative population. These need to be subject matter experts. So say you have 200 employees that work on an assembly line, you might want to use 10 or so for the job analysis to save money and time. If you do all 200, you're going to get too much information at once. The fourth step involves collecting the data from the methods you've already determined to use, and you may find you need to do more data collection because you don't have enough, in which case you need to do more data collection. After that, you can start to begin to complete the analysis, which is in the next step. Step 5 involves developing a list of tasks, job tasks, and then you have your subject matter experts rate these tasks on importance. Once they've done this, you can identify the critical tasks and critical competencies that you'll be using in your job description. The sixth step involves verifying the information of your job analysis with the subject matter experts. Once you have everything figured out, you need to bring all of your information back to them again, and have them double check it and make sure that all the information is correct. This gives the employees a chance to modify it one last time if they see anything that needs to be changed. Step 7 involves linking the tasks and competencies. Every task should be linked to at least one competency, vice versa. If a task is not linked, you need to eliminate it. Then you need to choose selective and quality rating factors, and these selective factors must be documented for future referencing. For the 8th step and final step, you develop the job description and job specification. The job description is just the written statement that describes the activities that you'll be performing, the conditions, and the safety hazards, while the specification is personal qualities, traits, and skills required. Andrew will be talking more about that in his presentation. Now with training, you can use job analysis to identify or develop your training needs, content. You can bridge the gap between the current workforce and the newly hired workforce, and you determine the KSAPCs you're going to need on the first day of the job. Job analysis with training can also be used to develop or identify assessment tests used to measure the effectiveness of the training you're performing. With all the quantitative info that you have, you can figure out the expected output an employee should have versus their actual output, and you can determine what training they need to achieve that expected output. You can also use job analysis to determine the equipment to be used in delivering the training. For example, if you're going to do it in a classroom or on the factory line, the tools the workers will be using. So say a construction worker, you need to show them you need to wear a hard hat and whatnot, and safety gear and whatnot. You can also use job analysis to determine the methods of training, whether it be classroom, hands-on, or online. for example, you have a factory worker, they probably need hands-on training in the factory, while an accountant might need training in either online or in a classroom, much more computer-based. Now for my new and you. I work for a data company, network solutions company called the Breaker Group, and we install internet and security systems in phones, offices, government buildings, wherever. Now, my boss noticed there was an issue with our jobs that we were performing. The issue being that our jobs were lagging. A lot of them were lagging, and then there'd be random jobs that would be fast-tracked, and they just get done really quickly. And he wasn't really sure why. So he had myself and my 2 or 3 other coworkers work with him to develop a list of all the skills necessary to complete our jobs. And then once we developed these skills, depending on the job type, he had us go and figure out the training we would need for it, because there's training provided. My point is, their boss is going to trust your opinions if you do a good job, but he needs your help. He's going to need your help to improve the efficiency of the company and make sure your company is working the best it can, whether it be through helping make a job description all the way to whatever he needs. So in conclusion, our job analysis is a review of the job duties and KSAPCs. There are 8 steps to perform a job analysis. However, the most important ones involve collecting the data, actually performing the analysis, and writing the new job description. Once you do that, you need to make sure you have the subject matter experts verify all the information. Job analysis is also used to determine the training needs, assessment, equipment, and methods, whether it be in the classroom, on the line, what kind of safety gear you need, or whatnot. Now I'd like to hand over to Andrew with the job description and job specification.
How's everybody doing today? Like Frank said, my name is Andrew James, and I will be discussing job description as well as job specification in job analysis. As you can see from my picture here, job description and job specification is an important part of job analysis. I will also be touching on the knowledge, skills, and abilities that would be in a job specification. First off, what we want to know is, what is a job description? Most of us have probably read about 100 of these by now, but they are a written document that contains info about a job. Also, it is a list of tasks, duties, and responsibilities that a job entails. Here's a couple of things that you might see in a job description. To continue on, it's also a brief statement about the job, and it's a list of important functions of the job. It also can be a basis for performance management and appraisal, and also can be a basis for determining the appropriate level of pay to get a job done. To continue on, the next part is identifying information. You'll see this to begin a job description. For this section, I chose construction workers, so that would be the title of the position. It would then include the department as well as salary. For a construction worker, you're looking more about an hourly wage rather than a salaried wage. Continuing on, next you would see supervisory responsibilities. This would include, will you be supervising others? If so, how many people would you be supervising? And then it would include, under that, a list of responsibilities if you were to be a supervisor. After that, you would see a position summary. This is basically the overview of the job. It includes the purpose of the job and is usually a small paragraph. So for TD Bank, if you were a teller, it would include being able to do customer service as well as handle a cash drawer. Next up would be the essential job functions portion of the job description. That would include the level of complexity of the job, the frequency of the tasks that you would be doing, the relationships the incumbent will have, as well as the level of interaction in those relationships. Continuing on, there would be the non-essential job functions. Some of these functions could be answering the phone, going to get mail, doing copies. These can be performed as part of another job in the organization and can be moved to accommodate for disabled employees. Next up in job description, as Frank touched on earlier, there's going to be an area where they talk about the equipment you would be operating, also tools that you may be using. Also would include hazardous equipment that you would be using, and if you would need to wear protective gear such as gloves or a hard hat, and or a specific type of uniform such as a nurse's uniform. So for a nurse, You might see things like this in one of their job descriptions, being able to treat patients, offer advice and emotional support to their patients, being able to handle a hefty amount of paperwork, and being able to help the doctors diagnose any problems the patients have. Next up would be the job specification portion. Beginning in there, you would see education information first, so that would include any degree that the job may need, and/or licenses and certificates needed to complete the jobs and tasks in the job. Next up, what will the position require? Many jobs require different skills and things. So some jobs require you to do presentations such as this. Some jobs require you to communicate orally, or will the job have little to no communication at all if you're more of in an office setting and sitting at a desk? Next up would be the experience required to do the job. So it would require any previous work in this area. How long have you worked in this field if you have? And it would include the minimum level of experience required to do the job and/or tasks. Next up would be the skills section. Depending on the job you're applying for, you're going to need different skills. So if you're working in an office setting, you're going to need to be able to use Microsoft Office, Access, Word, PowerPoint. If you're an engineer, you're going to need to know how to use CAD, CAM design. And if you're a teacher, you might need to know how to work with children and be good with people. Next up in the job specification would be the physical requirements for a job, discussing if you need to know how to be able to lift heavy things. You're going to be climbing high heights. Also, this must comply with the ADA, and it must be related to the essential job functions of the job. After the physical requirements, there's the mental requirements as well. This is also required for ADA purposes, and this will describe the level of mental acuity required to perform the job. Next up would be the work environment section. You don't know where you're going to be working, so in the job description and specifications, you'll need to see work environment. Will you be working in an office setting? Will you be working outside? Will you have the use of chairs? Or if you're in a bank, will you be standing? And if you're working outside, will you be using ladders of some sort? New and you, we can all relate to this. Like I said, I guarantee we've all been reading job descriptions over the past few months, looking for internships and full-time jobs. So I know I have. I've been reading a lot of job descriptions myself. To continue on, I felt that these were some of the important things to remember when looking at a job analysis. The analysis focuses on the job, not the person. Also, it's important to know what a job description is and what job specification is. Like I said earlier, job description is a list of tasks, duties, and responsibilities that the job entails. And that is my presentation. Thank you all for listening, and I'm going to pass it over to John, and he's going to talk about methods of collecting data.
Okay, how are you, everybody? I'm John Clark. Before data collection, we need to gather as much information as needed about the specific job. You can receive job content, job context, and job requirements through several sources. They include supervisors, job analysts, and subject matter experts. So as far as data sources, supervisors can be very helpful when defining a job. They have day-to-day interaction with their employees and have knowledge of their job duties and responsibilities. Their first-hand experiences can be the most valuable information in creating a job analysis. The next data source is a job analyst. They can also be extremely helpful when making job analysis. They're specialists in job analysis because their job is to study, observe, analyze, and utilize job functions for an array of positions. They would specifically be helpful in providing a job description. So a subject matter expert is an individual who exhibits the highest level of expertise in performing a specialized job, task, or skill within the organization. A SME might be a software engineer, help desk support operative, an accounts manager, or a scientific researcher. They can provide an in-depth analysis of the job being researched. So the job analysis methods, Now I'm going to discuss the three most commonly used methods